Hey guys, Gene here. Most of you are already aware, but Deadlock has received a major update a few days ago that completely reworked the item shop. In this video, I'll be going over how the item system changed and how the new items compare to the old items. I'll also be going over my first impressions on all the new items as well. The total amount of slots has been reduced from 16 to 12. There's no longer any restrictions based on item category. You can build 12 weapon, vitality, or spirit items if you really wanted to. The entire shop has a new look, and every item has a new icon. Items that are built from cheaper items like improved spirit will be discounted if you own one of their components like extra spirit. Before, each item you bought would give you a certain amount of a passive stat based on the item's tier and category. For example, Headshot Booster gave you 6% passive weapon damage for a tier 1 item, and Glass Cannon gave you 18% passive weapon damage as a tier 4 item. This is no longer the case in the new item system. Now, passive stat bonuses aren't tied to individual items, but are determined by the total cost of your weapon, vitality, and spirit items respectively. For example, the more spirit items you buy, the more spirit thresholds you reach, giving you more spirit power. More expensive items make you meet more spirit power thresholds, but these bonuses don't scale linearly with cost. The more you invest in one tree, the less stats you get, meaning it's a good idea to diversify your build. Everyone starts at 400 souls, and everyone gains spirit power per boon. Various abilities and spirit items have been adjusted to compensate for this. The new items are a bit more expensive than the old ones. Tier 1 items cost 800 now from 500. Tier 2 items cost 1600 from 1250. Tier 3 items cost 3200 from 3k. Tier 4 items cost 6400 from 6k. Items overall have a lot less stats than before, with some items, especially actives, giving 0 base stats. Some items have effects that scale with spirit. To check this, press tab or alt while hovering over the item. Items that have charges like Mystic Burst, Tank Buster, Quicksilver Reload, and Mercurial Magnum show a cooldown timing clock on their icons while they're charging up. Debuff Remover now does not remove debuffs from ultimates like Pocket's Affliction or Wraith's Telekinesis. Items in your HUD are now organized by cost. Cheap items will be near the left of the HUD, while expensive items will be near the right. The build editor and quick buy receive some nice quality of life improvements as well. Now let's get into how the new items compare to the old items. New Headshot Booster feels really good as a first purchase. It does 10 more damage than before on a 2-second lower cooldown. Since everyone starts at 400 souls, if you buy it first, it's like it only costs 400 souls, compared to 500 previously. Of the tier 2 weapon items, Backstabber is a completely new item. Whenever you hit an enemy from behind with a bullet or melee, you apply a dot, lower their bullet resist, and gain boost speed for 5 seconds. I think this item can be picked up on a lot of heroes. You can proc it easily on anyone running away from you, and its cooldown is very low. This item helps you stick on to people. Kinetic Dash gained 10% fire rate and 3 more ammo, but it loses extra stamina on a successful dash jump, which is a massive nerf for heroes who bought it for the bonus stamina. Opening Rounds is a completely new item with a passive similar to old Persine Emblem. This item seems like a good damage option for hybrid characters that can benefit from weapon damage and spirit power like Holiday. Split Shot is another new item. It makes your weapon fire 3 additional bullets. Enemies can only be hit by one of the 4 bullets per shot. If you hit multiple people per shot, it gives you a 10% stacking weapon damage buff for 12 seconds, for a maximum of 60 weapon damage at max stacks. This item seems hard to use effectively, but if you can fully stack it, it gives you the most weapon damage out of any tier 2 item. It also works in Grey Talon's Rain of Arrows, making you fire 20 bullets per shot. Weakening Headshot is a new item that builds in the Crippling Headshot. It gives the same amount of bullet shred as a bullet resist shredder. In combination, they give 23% bullet shred, which is 2% more than Hunter's Aura versus isolated targets. This is a strong combination of bullet shred early game. Blood Tribute is a new item that allows you to toggle on an insane amount of stats at the cost of taking damage every second, and 50% self anti-heal. This item with Furry Trance could be a great option for bruiser characters, especially Shiv, because he can defer the damage from Blood Tribute. Burst Fire got heavily nerfed. Its base fire rate got moved into its passive, meaning you get no benefit from the item while out of combat, except its glide distance. The move speed and cooldown got nerfed as well. This item was a staple in many gun builds in the past, so we should see a shakeup in how gun builds are built this patch. Cultist Sacrifice is another new item, the upgrades from monster rounds. It allows you to instantly eat a tier 3 jungle monster and gain 150% bonus souls from eating it, along with a powerful long-lasting buff. I think this item is amazing on late game carries who prefer to side lane. because side lanes are where the most safe farm is in the map. Late game carries like 7, Infernus, and Haze need a lot of souls to become a threat late game. The bonus weapon damage on monsters from this item helps them farm faster. Express Shot is a cool new item. It basically makes your weapon fire twice with increased weapon damage if you haven't attacked anyone in 4 seconds. I think this item is good in Paradox because her carbine is coded like an enhanced bullet. It doesn't make carbine proc twice, but it does double carbine's damage. It also works when Shiv, Yamato, and Viscus right clicks, making it a potential buy for them in gun builds. Hollow Point is a new item with an effect similar to old Hollow Point Ward. I don't see many people building this item, so it's probably bad, but I could be wrong on this. Spirit Rend is just Spellslinger's headshot with a new name. Weighted Shots is another new item. It's a stat stick item that gives you 30% weapon damage, 16 spirit and debuff resist, while sacrificing bullet velocity and stamina recovery. Toxic Bullets and anti-heal in general got nerfed. Toxic Bullets lost 20% anti-heal and a little bit of bleed damage. These changes make characters who heal a lot, like Lady Geist, Infernus, and Shiv, a lot better. Armor Piercing Rounds is a new item that gives your bullets a 65% chance to pierce enemies and ignore their bullet resistance. This item is like a selfish crippling headshot, good when you're playing a gun carry into comps who build a lot of bullet resistance. It's also a good counter item versus Viscus, because it ignores goo balls' increased bullet resistance. Capacitor is an interesting new item. Its active is an upgraded version of Tesla bullets, but its passive lets you throw out a lightning bolt that deals 200 damage and massively slows the target. The important part is this projectile removes non-ultimate buffs. This applies to a lot of abilities in the game. The description just says buffs, but as it turns out, there's a lot of stuff it cancels, even if it doesn't strictly seem like a buff. Crushing Fist is another fun new item. It massively increases your heavy melee distance. It makes your heavy melees do a lot more damage. Your melee attacks give you ammo and apply a stacking bullet resist debuff. At max stacks, the target would be briefly stunned. The value of this item doesn't come from the stun, it mostly comes from the extra movement and heavy melee damage. Spamming heavy melee is actually faster than walking, and the item carries melee builds like Melee Yamato and Abrams. Spellslinger is a new item that gives you a stacking 10% fire rate and minus 10% reload time every time you cast an ability or item. These stacks last 10 seconds and can stack up to 6 times. I think this item is good on heroes who can do a lot of damage with their gun and have sub 10-second cooldown abilities that they can spam. Some heroes that fit this are Viper, Warden, and Lady Geist. Rebuttal is a new item that shortens your parry cooldown. It makes successful parries heal you for the damage that was parried, and returns that damage back to the attacker. You also gain bonus heavy melee damage after a successful parry. This item is a niche buy, but it can be good against melee heroes if you notice they have bought melee lifesteal or spirit strike in lane. The best use case is to use this to negate Viscous Puddle Punch, because Puddle Punch can be reacted to reliably. You can always return Puddle Punch's damage back to Viscous during the laning phase, and heal for that amount as well. Battle Vest and Enchanter's Emblem are two new items. They are similar to Old Combat and Enchanter's Barrier, except the barriers are now bullet and spirit resist respectively. Shields are usually better early, and resists are better later into the game. With how long games are going after the new patch, these items are great inexpensive ways to boost your combat stats and get some resist as well. Guardian Ward is Old Divine Barrier, but a bit worse. It has less shields, more move speed and cast range, and a longer cooldown. However, its cooldown gets halved when you cast it on an ally, so this item is being shifted towards support heroes and support playstyles. Weapon and Spirit Shielding are new items that fill a similar role to Old Combat and Enchanter's Barrier. They both proc a shield when the enemy deals enough weapon or spirit damage in a spell time frame. I think these items are good options early game to survive enemy burst damage in lane and in teamfights, because 400 base shield early game is a lot of tankiness. Keep in mind that these shields scale with spirit, so it's not that bad to keep them to fill slots until you can replace them with better tier 3 or tier 4 items. I think these items are better than reactive barrier, and of the shielding items, spirit shielding is better than weapon shielding, because it's harder to accidentally proc, and most heroes' bursts start with spirit damage. Counterspell is a new item that allows you to parry abilities and items. On a successful spell parry, you gain move speed and a spirit power buff. Of the new items, this one is probably the coolest, but it's also egregiously broken in the right hands. You can parry ultimates like Lady Geist's ult, Shiv's ult, Lash's ult, Affliction, and items like Curse and Decay. This item does require high skill ceiling to use effectively, but on the right person, I can see this item being even more broken than the old Ethereal Shift when it was a tier 3 item. I think Valve is going to nerf this item's cost to be a tier 4 item to balance it, similarly to Ethereal Shift. Furry Trance is a new item that gives you a large amount of fire rate and bullet resist for 6 seconds, but prevents you from using abilities or stamina during that time. It also upgrades from bullet lifesteal. I think this item can be good in certain gun heroes after they have burned through their cooldowns, like Gun Abrams or Haze. Bullet and Spirit Resilience are new items that replace the old improved Bullet and Spirit armors. They have new passives that gives an additional 30% Bullet or Spirit Resilience below 30% HP. Superior Stamina is now Stamina Mastery, and it lost 1 stamina, some stamina recovery, and its bonus Spirit Power and Health. This is a good nerf to Superior Stamina, because it was a bloated S tier item last patch that almost every hero would buy. Trophy Collector is quite an interesting new item. When you buy it, every time you get a kill or assist, you gain a stack that gives you a little bit of health, sprint speed, ability range, and souls per minute. This item in theory is good in supports and heroes that want to be active and gank a lot mid game. These are heroes like Paradox, Holiday, Sinclair, and Ivy. I've heard a lot of people say this item is OP, but I think this item is overrated. Ideally, you want to buy this item as early as possible to stack it earlier, but you're essentially spending 3200 souls for an item that gives you 2 sprint speed and out of combat regen. These stats are useless in combat. Buying this item at first makes you effectively 3200 souls poorer in teamfights, and it delays your mid-game power spikes. I think this item is a win more item. You buy it when your team is clearly stopping the enemy, so you know you're going to stack it fast, without repercussions. Alternatively, you can buy this item after you finish your core build, because this item still gives an insane amount of stats for heroes that can use it, like Sinclair and Paradox, once it's fully stacked enough, but you won't fully stack it until much later into the game. Games are going a lot longer this patch compared to before, so this can be accomplished. The Veilwalker is now a tier 3 item. It lost all of its shields, but now heals you whenever you enter a veil. I think this item is hard to buy because it's inherently a luxury item, and it's hard to fit luxury items in your build now that there are 4 less item slots compared to before. This item is best used in pocket and pick heroes, especially Holiday and Bebop. Warpstone is now a vitality item and lost its bonus weapon damage and spirit power. Other than that, it's still the same item. Cheat Death is a new item that allows you to become damage immune for 4 seconds after taking lethal damage. While death immune, you deal 70% less damage and have 70% less self-healing. It has a cool sound and animation when it procs. I think this item is insane on Lady Geist because it guarantees that it'll hit your swap in teamfights, and your ult negates anti-heal. I also think it could be good on Frank when it releases because the ult is like a mini cheat death. In combination, this would give you 7 seconds of damage immunity. Divine Barrier is now a tier 4 item that gives you a large shield and move speed buff, and it cleanses non-ultimate debuffs. Using it on an ally reduces its cooldown by half. This item seems like it's made to be one of the premier tier 4 options for support heroes and support playstyles. Diviner's Kevlar is now a vitality item. It lost a fair amount of shields and spare power compared to before. Healing Tempo is a new item. It builds from Healing Booster and gives you increased healing effectiveness and some spirit resist. Targets affected by your healing receive a large fire rate buff and some move speed for 7 seconds. This item doesn't proc an innate regen or lifesteal, but it does proc a mystic regeneration. I think this item is insane on any M1 hero like Infernus, Haze, McGinnis, and Ivy because it's basically a permanent 40% fire rate and 1.5 move speed buff if you can stagger your abilities with mystic regeneration. Infuser is now a tier 4 vitality item that gives you spirit lifesteal, spirit resist, and health. Its passive gives you a massive amount of spirit lifesteal and spirit power for 6 seconds. I think this item is good in heroes that can constantly deal spirit damage during Infuser's window, like Abrams, Infernus, and Seven. Juggernaut is a new item that upgrades from enduring speed. It gives slow resist, move speed, melee resist, and regen. Its passive lowers enemies' fire rate by 40% for 4 seconds if they shoot you. I think this item can be situationally good on frontliners like Abrams, Calico, and Mo and Krill, against teams with a lot of M1 heroes like Haze, Infernus, and Mirage. You can also combine this item with Suppressor to lower the fire rate of enemies even more, but there's a fire rate slow cap at -50%, so you do waste some fire rate if the enemy doesn't already have bonus fire rate. Leech now builds from Bullet or Spirit Lifesteal, and no longer builds from Healbane. This means it lost its massive 60% anti-heal, and 350 heal on hero kill or assist. Plated Armor is a new item that gives you a 30% chance to make incoming bullets deal no damage, and a 60% chance to prevent on-hit effects from incoming bullets. This item is insane at reducing a majority of the damage from gun carries, like Haze and Viper. This item can negate abilities like Crackshot and items like Inhibitor, or if you're lucky, both at the same time. Spellbreaker is a new item that gives you Spirit and debuff resist. Its passive massively reduces the damage of an instance of high Spirit damage. The item has great base stats, but late game it can be easily procced from non-threatening Spirit damage like Mystic Shot, and Counterspell does what this item does for half the cost. It can be good into certain burst heroes like Grey Talon and Lash. In this clip, I got ulted by Lash twice and lived because of its Spirit resist, and it procced twice on his ult. Witchmail is a new item that gives base Spirit resist and Spirit power. Its passive reduces the cooldown of a random ability on an instance of taking 75 or more Spirit damage, and has a 1 second cooldown. I think this item is great on Mo and Krill, because he tends to get focused during combo, and Burrow, giving him more scorns to sustain himself during his abilities. And Yamato, because she easily gets focused during her ult, especially with Refresher, and she likes to cast abilities as much as possible during Shadow Transformation. Mystic Regeneration is a new item that gives you regen when you deal spirit damage to enemies. Hitting the same target refreshes the duration, and hitting multiple enemies makes it stack. The regen also scales with spirit. The item is quite strong right now, and has already received some nerfs. It's good on heroes with early spammable abilities like Lady Geist, Shiv, and Mirage. I expect this item to get nerfed even more in the future. Rusted Barrel is a new item with an effect similar to Old Withering Whip, but with less stats, not as a tier 1 item. It's a good early counter option against M1 heroes like Mirage, Haze, and Viper, and builds into Disarming Hex. Arcane Surge is now a tier 2 item. Most of the bugs with this item has been fixed, making it a strong option for certain characters that can utilize the buff well, like Warden, McGinnis, and Dynamo. Mystic Slow is now a tier 2 item. It gained some move slow, but it lost all of its fire rate slow and some stats. I haven't seen it built much, but it does build in a lightning scroll, which is good on certain heroes like Warden. Spirit Sap is a new item that reduces an enemy's spirit resist and spirit power by 12 for 12 seconds. This item can be hard to slot in your build if you're a carry, but it's a great item into the many spirit heroes that are being played right now. It also builds into Silence Weave, which is another amazing item. Decay is now a tier 3 item. It lost its ability duration, regen, and 20% anti-heal, but its cast range was increased, and it does twice as much damage as before. Despite the nerf, this item is still really good. It does a lot of damage, and it's one of the few ways to get anti-heal in the mid-game. High sustain heroes like Lady Geist, Shiv, and Yamato are running rampant right now, and Decay is a great counter item against them. If you're running a debuff build and have the slots for it, you can use Decay to extend the length of Mystic Slow and Suppressor on a single target to 10 plus seconds. Decay is also bugged right now. Affliction makes Decay's damage lethal. Disarming Hex is a new item that disarms their target and reduces their bullet resist for 4 seconds. This is a good mid-game counter option against a fed or problematic M1 carry. Silence Wave is a new item that launches a large purple wave, similar to Omen's Blind from Valorant. This wave silences for 4 seconds and reduces spirit resist and spirit power for 12 seconds. This is a very good item, and AoE silence is extremely valuable in teamfights and allows you to disable problematic spirit heroes and spirit carries. It's particularly good into caster type heroes like Pocket, Dynamo, Yamato, and Lash. Improved Burst is now Tank Buster with some changes. It still does max HP burst damage if your abilities meet a certain threshold of damage, and now it's not tied to a cooldown. It's a charged item now, meaning you can proc this item at any point of its cooldown, for an effect proportional to how long it was on cooldown, instead of waiting for the 5-second internal cooldown of Improved Burst. in order to be able to proc it again. This item is good on spirit carries with abilities with high base damage like Lash, Great Talon, and Pocket. Arctic Blast is a new item that builds from Cold Front. It has some spirit resist, and launches a wave of ice that does even more damage in Cold Front, and briefly freezes, then slows enemies. Enemies take 15% more damage while frozen. The freeze is a root, not a stun. I think this item is mid. The damage increase compared to Cold Front isn't that much, and you only get the bonus damage during the freeze's short window. I think Boundless and Spirit Burn are better tier 4 items if we're looking for more damage. Speaking of Boundless Spirit, it received some changes. It lost a fair bit of spirit power, health, and other stats, but it now heals you and gives you move speed buff every time you cast an ability. This item is great on most spirit heroes, but I think the heroes that use it the best are Malice Geist, Knife Shiv, and Seven. Focus Lens is a new item that silences a single target for 4.25 seconds. During that time, 30% of the damage dealt by you and your team to the target during the silence is dealt when the silence finishes. I think this item is amazing and it synergizes well with the playstyle of pick heroes like Paradox, Holiday, Bebop, and Mo and Krill. It's also good on Haze. I've been playing a lot of Paradox this patch and I've been liking the item a lot on her. It's always the first tier 4 item I buy on her. This item does get removed by debuff remover. Like people haven't been buying it much in my games, partially because of there being less loss overall, and the item getting nerfed. Once people realize to buy debuff remover against this item, I'll have to start buying curse over it unfortunately. If you want to try out my Paradox build, I've linked it in the description. Lightning Scroll is a new item that builds from Mystic Slow. It makes your damage from your ultimate stun, and do bonus damage after a delay. This item doesn't work on charge ults like Vindicta's ult, and only triggers once per enemy per ultimate. You want to be proccing this item on multiple people, so I think this item is good on heroes with long channeled AoE ultimates like Warden, Seven, and McGinnis. Magic Carpet lost its ability range, and more importantly, lost its shields when activated. This is a sizable nerf to the item. It was bought on Spirit Mo and Krill and Viscous builds, but this nerf, along with others, will make those builds harder to play. Mercurial Magnum is a new item that upgrades from Quicksilver Reload. It gives max ammo and spirit power, and its passive basically allows you to imbue an ability with Race full auto. When the imbued ability is used, it does 60 more damage, and depending on how fully charged it is, it gives you bonus spirit damage per bullet, fire rate, and ammo. This item is overtuned, it received some nerfs, and it honestly needs even more. It's good on any M1 hero, except Haze. Scourge is a new item that gives you or an ally 40% spirit resistance, and an aura that deals 3.5% max health damage per second. I think this item is best on frontliners who can stick on the people for the majority of its duration, like Mo and Krill and Ball Viscous. It can also be a pickup on support heroes to buff their frontliner before a teamfight starts. Spirit Burn is a new item. When you deal 400 or more damage to an enemy, they explode in a large area, dealing damage and applying a dot for 8 seconds. This dot massively reduces the healing of anyone affected by it. This item is extremely overtuned and broken, and Valve knows it. They've already nerfed it, and honestly, it needs even more nerfs. It's a staple pick on any spirit carry, or anyone who can deal 400 spirit damage in 5 seconds. It's not that hard to proc at late game. This item does an insane amount of damage, especially in combination with escalating exposure. It also has the most anti-heal in the game out of any item, which is invaluable into many heroes late game. Vortex Web is the last new item. It builds from Slowing Hex. On activation, it throws out a projectile that pulls enemies towards it and applies a stronger version of Slowing Hex. The enemy is hit by it. It can be good to clump enemies up and prevent them from escaping your CC or damage combos. I think this item can be good in Spirit Ivy or double Bunny Sinclair builds. I plan on making a video showcasing more of the leaked heroes, item and hero tier list, and a full Paradox guide when I finalize my build of her. If you liked the video, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next time I upload. If you want to watch me play Deadlock, I stream most days around 4 PM EST on Twitch and YouTube. I also give out free coaching in my Discord during my free time. You can also ask me questions about the game there too. My semester ends soon, so I should be able to get even more videos out. Later.